Hey everybody, it's Glenn back in this video and following Speed Demon with his fellow superior foe of Spider-Man, it's Beetle. On the packaging back we get the bio that essentially amounts to the mission statement of the superior foes obsessed with personal glory. These superpowered anti-heroes fight for any team that gets them ahead. Then pictured on the packaging back is the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure, a review of which I've been inching closer to as I've now reviewed Ben Reilly Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Morbius, Jack-O-Lantern, Venom, Beetle as we have here, and Speed Demon. Here she is out of packaging, and while I may dog Hasbro from time to time, in this instance I like to think of Hasbro and I as great minds that think alike, as I am in fact a veteran of my very own Beetle custom, don't you know? My custom dates a number of years back now, and I settled on making her, as I often do with a character selection of my customs, because I simply like the character and its design. Now, to look at her, you could be thinking she must be a chip off the old block of classic Spider-Man foe, the original Beetle. Yet other than sharing the same supervillain moniker and a similar costume, the two are not connected. But it is still true that the apple didn't fall too far from the tree, just in her case a different tree, as her father is another Spider-Man foe, Tombstone. Yet in design she is unquestionably a homage to the classic Beetle, with a sexy twist. Tombstone may be her daddy, but it's as if the Beetle got jiggy with Judy Jetson and this new Beetle is the result. And I say Judy Jetson as I get a futuristic feel about her. Not futuristic from today's perspective, more what people in the 1950s and 60s thought the future would look like. It was all visions of flying motor cars, vitamin pill-only diets, and women dressed as sexy insects. Or is that just me? I see it most, for instance, in the flare of her costume at the hips, and that lower and her upper torso are uniquely sculpted for her, which makes me feel like, as I did with much of this wave, that Hasbro have just dug that little bit deeper into their pockets. But where they have most obviously saved a penny or two is in her wings, which originally come from the Wasp from the Ant-Man Ultron Build-A-Figure series. A strange twist of fate, as Beetle may be set to become the new Wasp. And I say that as I'm currently reading the Astonishing Ant-Man comic book series, which stars Scott Lang Ant-Man, and it seems he's about to get jiggy with Beetle here in the way that Wasp has long got jiggy with Hank Pym Ant-Man. And that's now the third time I've said jiggy in this video. I've said it more times than anybody since Will Smith back in 1998. It is worth noting as we compare the wings that the hinge part of Wasp's wings are made from the same colour plastic as her wings, whereas on Beetle they're not, but at least it does match the green of the costume and it doesn't stand out like those stupid numbers that Hasbro print on the back of legs of all legends. Now taking a closer look at the head sculpt, and when it comes to masked characters like this, I'm always looking towards the sculpt to convey a sense of a living, breathing person underneath the mask. And they've certainly achieved that here. I think the expression they've captured is really respect-worthy. I mean, this is a wave with Jack-O-Lantern in it, who as a character is wide open for them to go to town on a really expressive face sculpt. Yet within the restrictions of her being a masked character, it's subtle, but I still see an expression under there. I think it's in the eye shape. They certainly do convey a sense of menace. Now within the comics, this new female Beetle isn't in fact the first female Beetle. She isn't even in fact the first female Beetle action figure we've gotten in the Marvel Legends era. That honor goes to the Beetle that was released in 2005 as part of Toy Biz's Spider-Man Classics line. Admittedly a lot less female looking than this new one, but underneath all that tank armor, she was a lady. Now looking at her articulation, and her head rotates side to side, she's able to look down a decent amount, and then she's able to kind of, come on, look up this much. At the shoulder, her arm rotates and then it hinges up to about a right angle to her body. Then there's rotation at the elbow and this is hinged, effectively a single hinge. And then at the wrist, her hand rotates and it's hinged, moving down and then up. In lieu of waist rotation, she has a rotating diaphragm joint, and this also moves this far forward, and then it also moves this far back. At the hips, her legs don't move out especially far to the side, but they move much further forward, but then they don't seem to move back. There's upper leg rotation, followed by a double jointed knee. Then at the ankle, her feet are hinged, moving backwards and forwards, and they have that ankle rocker pivot that I love. Yet with that limited hip articulation, she's not able to take full advantage of that ankle pivot, with this being her widest stance possible, still with both feet flat on the floor. And of course, let's not forget about the articulation of her wings. The wings pivot around, and then these smaller set of wings are also separately pivot around, and then the wings are also hinged, so you can pose her as if the wings are flapping back and forth. Bzzz. Oh, hang on, that's a bee. Bees buzz, don't they? What do beetles do? So yes, with her wings outstretched, ready to take to fly, I think she looks positively glorious. When I reviewed the wasp, her wings made her quite back heavy and difficult to balance, yet Beetle here seems a lot sturdier. And the wings are removable, which presents a different posing option, because in the comics, during downtime, she doesn't have them. So all things considered, and I give Beetle here a big recommend. In fact, she might be my favourite of the wave. Hard to tell, it's such a strong wave, but when I review the Absorbing Man Builder-Figure, I will rank all the figures from this wave. I admit some of my affection for the character comes from recently having read the Superior Foes of Spider-Man comic book. But hey, you go do the same and you might get a new appreciation for both Beetle and Speed Demon who appear in that comic. And although that comic was titled The Superior Foes of Spider-Man, the group are in fact the Sinister Six. And so combining Boomerang from the Ultimate Green Goblin wave with Beetle and Speed Demon from this wave, and we have got a shocker from the Spider-Man Classics Toy Biz days, yet a new shocker Hasbro would be much appreciated. Then that just leaves us with Overdrive, who I'm sure in bulldozer style Hasbro will leave us waiting for forever. And just in case you're wondering, Glenn, there's only 5 of them, they're supposed to be the Sinister Six. Well, yeah, that was part of the joke of the comic book. Anyway, click the video on the left if you missed my review of Jack-O-Lantern, and now to answer a question that Computer Monster 1 asked in that video. Yep, the one I found as pictured here is the cape that came with Hope Summers back from the Return of Marvel Legends Terrax wave. I think it looks pretty good. And I hope to see you all next time. Yeah, South Beach, bringing the heat. Whoop!